Hey! In this video we will talk about business plans. Quite often, aspiring entrepreneurs are only very vague about the full picture of their future business. They do not have a structured business plan and are therefore denied a loan. And this affects relations with partners and investors. It is very important to know how to draw up a business plan correctly. For this, a special person is often hired, but the head of the company can draw up this plan himself. It should cover all important issues. After all, with a bad business plan, you will not succeed and the negotiations will be completely unsuccessful. You need to stick to a specific plan for everything to work out. What is a business plan? The business plan must be prepared competently and reasonably. It will be needed by investors who will lend you money to implement your ideas, your employees, who must understand their tasks and goals, as well as you. The simplest definition of a business plan is a document that describes all aspects of the enterprise, predicts possible problems and develops ways to solve them. In addition, the business plan contains the overall development strategy of the enterprise and its potential profitability. It is on its basis that a decision is made about whether it is worth starting the implementation of the project at all. It is impossible to draw up a business plan once and forget about this matter. It is revised every month and is subject to amendments taking into account new circumstances. The project manager is obliged to personally take part in its preparation. Otherwise, he simply will not be able to adequately assess the entire scale of the work and respond to problem situations in time. Why do you need to write a business plan? There are two goals in which a business plan is developed. 1. To present the project to investors. 2. As a management tool, the first thing to do is write a business plan for internal use. It works out every single possible problem of the project, down to the smallest detail. First, it will help you prepare yourself in the best possible way for the challenges that arise. Secondly, although most of the analysis done for the internal plan will not be presented in a presentation that includes only strengths, an experienced investor will ask you questions on these topics in order to assess the seriousness of your approach to business. In any case, you cannot answer them straight away. The functional purpose of a business plan can be summarized as follows: 1. Exploring perspectives. 2. Assessment of potential profit. 3. Prediction of problematic moments. 4. Derivation of control markers to track the success of the project. The business plan for a new project traditionally covers the first 3 years of the company's existence. The first year is forecasted on a monthly basis, the second is divided into quarters. For the third, you can specify only the estimated annual results. It is still impossible to analyze in more detail. There is no single standard for what a business plan should look like, but there is one general requirement: conciseness. The document, especially drawn up for the presentation of the project, should be of interest and not overload, so avoid excessive volumes. 10. 20 pages are enough. Mandatory structural components of a business plan. In order to draw up a business plan, you should remember about its main components. Usually, to simplify the task, a type of analysis called SWOT is used. This abbreviation stands for, quite simply, strength, weakness, opportunities, troubles. Strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats are 4 dimensions that you must analyze and disclose in your document. An analysis of strengths and weaknesses includes consideration of those aspects that are controlled by the owner and project manager himself. Analyzed strictly in the present time. These include organizational, marketing, technical, financial and personnel characteristics. Organizational aspects include, first of all, issues of legal design of the project and analysis of resources. For example, the availability of premises or the need to rent it. Marketing. Related to the possible impact on the profitability of the project, the location of the enterprise, the state of the market segment, the analysis of competitors and the marketing strategy of the future project. Technical characteristics include the presence or absence of the required equipment, its condition, financial, the availability of start-up capital. Personnel. An analysis of the professional characteristics of the entrepreneur himself, his knowledge, skills and abilities and their compliance with the project being developed. Opportunities and threats include those factors, the emergence and development of which cannot be controlled. These are the political and economic situation, scientific and technological progress, changes in the socio- cultural background, and even the demographic state of the proposed region of placement. Undertaking to draw up a business plan, analyze properly the situation in all its manifestations. Despite the fact that you get a small document at the output, there will be much more collected and analyzed information in any case. How to draw up a business plan correctly. Structure. So, we figured out why a business plan is needed and what it should take into account. However, how to write a business plan is still a problem. If you do not have an economic education, you have hardly ever seen a business plan and do not know what it should look like in the end. The free form of presentation of the material still presupposes some structure, without which the text will be too indistinct to interest anyone. Here are some tips to help you avoid getting confused in the elements of a business plan and structure it correctly. Title page. Memorandum of confidentiality. Summary. Objective of the project. Analysis of the state of affairs in the industry. Analysis of the position of the enterprise in the industry. Marketing and sales plan. Production plan. Financial plan. Risk analysis. Applications. Now about each item in more detail. Title page. Front page. It is created so that it is immediately clear what will be discussed in the document. Indicate on it. Title form of ownership. Brief description of the proposed activity. Contacts. Address. Required area for sale and potential landlords. Business condition. New or extension of old. Goals and objectives of the company. All this should be indicated as briefly and clearly as possible and occupy exactly one page. Confidentiality memorandum. This privacy memorandum protects your rights. That is, he warns people who get to know him that they cannot use it for their own purposes. There is also a ban on copying, transferring to third parties. If it is not interesting, then it contains a request to return the business plan to the author. Summary. This section is intended for general information, advertising, which should arouse the interest of the person to whom this business plan is intended. From this section, investors will build their first impression of your project. And very often he decides the whole fate of a business plan. Here is the structure of the summary section itself. Brief description of the project, its goals and objectives. Resource provision, implementation mechanism, the unicorn. Required external funding, forecast of volume, sales and profit, estimated loan repayment, indicators of project effectiveness. Everything should be stated clearly and concisely. The volume should be no more than 1-2 pages. Objective of the project. Here it is necessary to talk about the product or service that you offer. Be sure to indicate the technology by which the product will be produced. Indicate the advantages of the product, its uniqueness. Emphasize that the products have room for improvement. Describe patents and copyrights for the invention. Analysis of the state of affairs in the industry and competitors. In this section, investors should learn about the results of the analysis of the current situation in this industry. And assumptions are made on their impact on implementation and outcome. Provide background information on the latest innovations in the industry. List potential competitors, their strengths and weaknesses. Analysis of competitors' activities. Highlight 5 major competing firms in detail, why they have achieved such outstanding results. This is especially important in order to draw up a business plan for internal use. Take the time to analyze their strengths and weaknesses, as well as development prospects. Separately without the presence of your project, separately with it. Indicate which parameters you use to capture the activities of competitors and which you will use to track changes in the future. Analysis of the position of the enterprise in the industry. This item is needed for those who create a new enterprise. It needs to outline all types of activities, its products and services, the organizational and legal form of the enterprise, the financial and economic indicator of the company, the location of the enterprise, the specifics of the work. The section should convince the investor that the company is reliable and promising. Description of the product of labor. Description of goods and services. It's pointless to write a business plan and not explain what you are going to sell. This section should include all the characteristics of your service or product. Indicate the benefits for the client, create a portrait of the ideal client, and analyze the state of the target audience of your project. Here you need to write about what product or service you offer customers, as well as what advantages over competitors. You can describe the product in detail, provide a drawing or picture. If he is not alone, then a description is given for each of them. Be sure to indicate the product's name, appointment, short description, copyright, competitiveness, availability of a certificate for the product, safety and environmental friendliness. Delivery conditions, guarantee, exploitation, disposal, marketing and sales plan. In this section, describe who is interested in this product on the market, why and to what extent it will be bought, and how it will be possible to influence demand. Describe how the product will be sold on the market, the planned price, advertising policy. It is necessary to describe the strategy from start to finish. Production plan. The production and work processes of the enterprise are described. This has to do with location, equipment and personnel. The questions should be reflected: in what terms the volume of production can be increased, and in what terms it can be reduced. Indicate laws, regulations and other documents that are legally binding. Financial plan. Plan of income and expenses for each month, if the plan is drawn up for a year. Cash flow plan, balance sheet for the first year. Loan funds repayment scheme. The section should end with an analysis of the effectiveness of the project. Risk analysis. There are difficulties along the way of each project. It is very important to anticipate them and develop a strategy in advance to help overcome them. Otherwise, the business plan will not be possible to implement. In this section, you should assess the state of the market in as much detail and objectively as possible. Those of its segments that you plan to cover and the target audience of each segment as a whole. Predict your potential profits and what impact a rise or fall in the market might have on them. The important point is to analyze your estimated pricing policy and justify why your customers would be willing to pay that much. Applications. List all documents that are not the subject of planning. These can be copies of various documents, supplier price lists, calculation tables and much more. Supporting documentation. It is not in itself part of the plan, but must be included. This list includes summary, job descriptions, recommendations, accounting documents, credit histories, lease agreements, market statistics, written commitment, other documents, depending on the specifics of the project. This is what a real business plan should look like, which will immediately inspire confidence in investors, bankers or partners. And they will want to invest their money in the implementation of your idea.